I'm so pleased that the circular economy is part of this story. It doesn't have to start with me now. It's been part of everything that's been said, which is wonderful. So I want to say welcome. I want to say welcome to what is now a double session. Okay, now let me explain what I mean by a double session. Firstly, I'm speaking to the online audience who've joined us by live streaming from all over the world. You have joined us in Mumbai. We're standing in, or I'm standing in a wonderful old textile mill in downtown Mumbai. And you're here at the first ever Toilet Business Innovation and Investment Summit. And this is an event held or hosted by the Toilet Board Coalition, who are the thought leaders in business-led sanitation. And there are 250 people here, more than 200 businesses represented. So it's a huge gathering with a wonderful display outside of all the innovations that are going on. And if there's one thing that motivates the people here in this room in Mumbai, it's the big idea that there are 2.4 billion people in the world who don't have sanitation, and what can we do about that? Okay, now let me say the second welcome. I said this was a double session, it's a double welcome. So welcome also to those of you who are here in the room. You may not realize it, but by a miracle of technology, you are now part of the third Disruptive Innovation Festival. So we are live online to a global audience of the biggest online learning experience about the circular economy. It's an event that runs for 3 weeks. And if the numbers are last year are anything to go by, you're talking about 20,000 people registered for the Disruptive Innovation Festival in 181 countries. And if the people who log into the Disruptive Innovation Festival are motivated by one big thing, it's the idea that we can make the transition from the linear economy to the circular economy. And that is conservatively estimated at a $1 trillion opportunity for the global economy. So we have this dual session. We have these two audiences. I hope the technology is working. Why are we bringing these together? Well, here's the big idea. Here's the big idea. If we can bring together the thinking of the circular economy with the thinking about sanitation, can we create a self-sustaining system? A system which does not depend forever on government and aid funding to provide sanitation. Can we make this work as a business? That's the big idea. That's what we've been exploring this year. And of course, in doing this, we're bringing together two big groups of people. This session today is a kind of metaphor for the work that we're doing. Most of the people in sanitation are not working on the circular economy. Most of the people in circular economy are not working on sanitation. The overlap is relatively small. And that means we have a fabulous opportunity. I mean, think of all the new collaboration that is possible. Think of the ideas and creativity that is possible. But on the other hand, remember that people come in with some different assumptions, different priorities, different language. So we have to work really hard to build understanding and build trust across this kind of dual collaboration that we have. And I'd like to start this idea of collaboration with two things, which are both about language. So the first is, let's have a mantra that we can all adopt together. And I was at the launch of the Disruptive Innovation Festival in London a week ago. A very interesting speaker, a lady called Nikki Silvestri, was one of the keynote speakers. And she had this lovely mantra for the circular economy. And I think it works particularly well for the circular economy for sanitation. So here it is. In play and keep the people in play. Keep the molecules in play and keep the people in play. And a lot of people think the circular economy is just about keeping the molecules in play. It's very much about the people. It has a big social dimension as well. And that's what people working in sanitation really care about. So keep the molecules in play, keep the people in play. That's our mantra. I want to say about language, our executive director, Cheryl, hinted at it earlier on. This is about the W word. Now that is W-A-S-T-E. Okay, and in the context of sanitation, we often talk about human S-T-E. Okay, now the problem with the W word is it is a label. way beyond simply describing material. It's the whole culture around material. It is a label for the people who work in this space. It's a label for the organizations who work in this space. The W word means this is material we have given up on. Stuff that has no value, in fact, probably a negative value. We have to pay somebody to take this nasty stuff away. So the W word is a label which puts negativity into everything we do. So we want to stop using the term WASTE, okay? And instead, we're going to use the term toilet resources. Okay, now you are probably thinking, that's ridiculous. That's a kind of really clunky thing to do. Well, let's try. Help each other in this session. If any of us speaking in this session say toilet resources, so can we just practice that now? So can we, right, toilet resources? Okay, okay, that's good. Now, we have to be polite, but if anybody does say human W word, we want to indicate politely that we don't like that. Okay, so can we practice this one as well? So human, I'll say it once, waste, human waste. Yeah, okay. So that's what we're going to do. And online, guys, we can't see you, but you join in as well. Let's stop labeling this stuff as human W-A-S-T. It's toilet resources from now on. Okay, so there's my two little points about language. Now, the other thing I'm here to do before I hand over to 10 speakers who are really involved in this space, I'm here to launch this report. So if the sign is this big, it must be real. This report is downloadable now from the Toilet Board website. It's a thought piece. It's a starting point into the subject of the circular economy for sanitation. It leaves us with a lot more to do. But let me just very quickly summarize the findings. The first thing is that toilet resources are an integral part of the biological cycle. So we have a bit of history of treating toilet resources as something to be kept separate from food waste and other things. But actually, toilet resources are an integral part of the biological cycle, and that, again, must inform our thinking from here on. Secondly, that there is potentially an economic opportunity here, but it's not proven yet. We have to do the work to show that this can be a sustaining system. But as you'll hear in a moment from our speakers, bits of this system are already working. We have to assemble the complete picture in the year ahead. The third thing is that there are really three circles here. We talk about the circular economy. The circular economy has many cycles or cycles within it. There are three that work here. The obvious one is that the toilet resources themselves have value. So toilet resources themselves become a range of products. And we have a wonderful infographic which shows this, and those of you who are here in the room can see it on display. It will also be part of the report, so you can see this. And it shows the whole range of possible uses for toilet resources. The ones that are relatively obvious, even traditional in some places, products, fertilizer and compost, energy in various forms, and also water, which is usable for purposes. Those, if you like, are the obvious opportunities, all of which can be enhanced and developed even further than we have so far. But in addition to that, there are some really innovative product ideas, things that can be derived from toilet resources using various kinds of technologies. So there's a bigger product opportunity than just these traditional products that we're familiar with. And on top of that, what about information? Sensors which can detect pathogens and drive really well-targeted health interventions. So information is another product from toilet resources, one that has hardly been exploited so far. So the first cycle, which already has many dimensions to it, toilet resources themselves have value. The second cycle is that out to embrace the whole biological cycle. So what if it's not only toilet resources that are going into the system and not only the products I described that are coming out of the system, but we begin to build a biological cycle that really works. And remember that in most developed countries, although they think the waste system is working, actually biological waste is not dealt with very well. There isn't really a system for capturing food waste in many developed countries. So here's an opportunity to actually build a biological system and really create a leapfrog opportunity into a system that is actually better and has less problems with other things like plastics and textiles and paper and so on, which create waste problems of their own. So this is a really big opportunity, not just for sanitation, but for the whole resource system in the economy. The third circle is about the equipment, the toilets, the transport, the treatment facilities. Can the circular economy, which has different ways of providing and maintaining equipment of this kind, can it also teach us something which is useful? These are ideas that have been applied to lighting solutions and washing machines and other kinds of hardware. Why not to the hardware of sanitation? And this is something that is hardly being looked at. So these are the ideas we have. These are the findings of the report, that these opportunities are available. And we're going to be exploring them in the year ahead. Now, rather than me talking about this, as it were, in theory, let's talk about it in practice. Let's hear about some people that are actually working in this area in different ways. So we have 10 speakers. 2 of them are online, and we hope the sound will work for the audience here. There's an element of innovation even in running the session, I can assure you. But our first speaker, who we are beaming in from the UK, is Anina Hengler. Anina is with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, who are the organizers of the Disruptive Innovation Festival. But the relevance of Anina's role is right here in India, because the Ellen MacArthur Foundation have been looking at the circular economy in India. So let's hand over to Anina, if she's online, and let's hear what she has to say.
Hi, Sandy. Thank you for your introduction. It's great to be tuning in from the UK today. So I only have 3 minutes, so I'm going to jump straight into it. But basically, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation is currently finalizing a report on circular economy in India. Based on high-level economic analysis, extensive research, and expert interviews, the report offers insights on the benefits of the circular economy can have on the Indian economy. It's being finalized now and will be published along with major findings on the 5th of December. But for now, what I can share with you is that quantification seems to show that a circular economy in India represents major economic opportunities, as well as benefits for the environment and citizens. In addition, we identified recommendations for businesses, policymakers, and organizations to capture these benefits. We look into 3 focus areas in this study: cities and construction, food and agriculture, and mobility and vehicle manufacturing. One of the major opportunities in a circular economy generally, like Sandy already mentioned, not just in India, but in a circular economy in generally, is returning nutrients back into the biocycle. For our India studies showed that along with food waste, the recuperation of human excreta demonstrates a significant opportunity for the Indian economy. And that through emerging sanitation technologies, recuperating these biological nutrients is becoming more and more feasible. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation India report is, as far as we know, the first time the economic and environmental benefits of a circular economy are explored and quantified specifically for an emerging economy. There is no reason to doubt that circular economy is not more widely applicable to other low-income countries. In fact, because emerging markets have yet to build and organize established sanitation systems, one statistic reported that currently almost 70% of sewage generated in urban India remains untreated. We found that additional benefits exist for emerging economies in moving directly to circular infrastructure and systems and avoiding the high costs now faced by high-income countries with transitioning this infrastructure from linear to circular. The next steps in achieving speed to scale for the recuperation of human excreta opportunity requires the identification of those priority initiatives that have short-term investment potential, as well as the political and industrial action required to benefit from them. Thanks.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Anina. Let's give Anina some appreciation. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, we're next going to turn to the city dimension of this. So we keep saying cities, we talk about municipalities. It's a critical part of the ecosystem is how city authorities view this. And somebody who's got great experience of working in this space in Durban and surrounding area of South Africa is Neil McLeod. So Neil, over to you. If we can get you the microphone. Hello. Okay, here we go.
So I don't get the blue box. Maybe this is better. So I'm Neil McLeod. I have 44 years experience in water and sanitation, and for 22 years ran Egerton-Read Water and Sanitation, which is the public utility providing water and sanitation services to Durban. And we had over 1 million people in about the mid-2000s without access to sanitation in our city. And we realized we couldn't afford waterborne sanitation. So we researched and found that the best we could offer that met the most needs of people was to use urine diverting toilets. And we set about building those. In 10 years, built over 90,000, connected 500,000 people, and built community ablution blocks for another 500,000. So that virtually wiped out the historical backlog. We found, though, that people didn't like seeing their, what do I call it, toilet resource down the hole. So we needed to find another toilet that separated people from what was down in the hole. I can't say toilet resource for that. And that was the one challenge. The other one was that we realized that that resource was a resource. There was energy in it and nutrients in it. And so we started partnering with entrepreneurs to find ways of processing that material into something useful. So you see a number of initiatives. The depot plant, which converted fecal sludge into fertilizer pellets, which are pathogen-free, odor-free, and which grow cabbages double the size of normal fertilizer. Don't ask me why, but they do. We partnered with a local university, Durban University of Technology, to build a plant, a full-scale plant that takes human treated effluent and grows algae, which you can harvest to convert to biodiesel. There are other people in this room. Stefan Reuter from DWATS has been a partner with us. The biocycle people will talk about the initiative in Durban. So that's what we've done in the past. But the reality is that we still don't have a toilet that is acceptable to everybody. So that's where I'm looking for you people to help us resolve that problem. Find us a toilet that meets people's needs, that they can afford, and get the costs of these processes, because most of them are still not completely viable without subsidies. Find ways to get those costs down so that they can become viable businesses. And we as utilities, public service, can step out of it and leave it to you guys to fight over who makes the most profit. Thank you.
Well done, Neil. Thanks very much. Now, we're going to do a tour of Africa now. The Toilet Board Coalition is above all about getting into action, working with small businesses in the field who are actually doing the things that we're talking about. And we're going to do a tour of 4 African businesses. The first speaker is from Sanergy. However, David Auerbach, the CEO of Sanergy, who many of you know, is stuck with travel problems in Nairobi, has been unable to join us in person and even unable to join us online. So speaking in place of David in a moment will be Sasha Kramer, who may also tell us a little bit about soil as well. So you get a bonus input on this one. And then continuing our tour of Africa, we'll hear from Art van den Boekel from Safisana in Ghana. We'll go back across to Kenya to Andrew Foote from Sanitation, and then back again to South Africa to Mark Lewis from AgriProtein. So we'll just get the microphone moving around between these 4. But Sasha, you're first.
I think my oh, can you hear me? So I'm very honored today to be speaking on behalf of my friend and colleague, David Auerbach. And it's a pleasure for me to do this because Soil and Sanergy do very similar work with regards to the circular economy. And Haiti is certainly part of the African diaspora, so I think that it'll be all right to bring that into the discussion as well. So both Soil and Sanergy are focusing on the problem of how to provide safe and dignified sanitation to people that are living in very dense urban settings. And we're looking at areas where traditional technologies like latrines and septic tanks don't work. But the way that this links into the circular economy is that for both of our organizations, our work has very much been driven both by the molecular and the human aspects of the circular economy. So on the molecular level, we're very interested in how do we take the very nutrients that we consume that allow us to live how do we take them, pass them through our bodies, and then somehow transform them back into the nutrients that we consume in order to live. So both soil and Sanergy work on taking, I'm going to say poop, because I think that instead of having a negative value, it perhaps has a little bit of a comedic value. Certainly it does for my 2-year-old son. So how do we take poop and turn that back into food? And we're really looking at how do we take a public health problem and transform it into an environmental solution. And in so doing, reestablish the connections between urban and rural areas. So the food that we eat is primarily coming from rural areas, coming into the cities. How do we get it back onto the farms to reestablish soil fertility? So both Soil and Sanergy use container-based toilets where we collect the poop in containers, transport it to a waste treatment site where we compost it and then sell the compost to create revenue that can go towards the cost of treatment. And in the future, both Soil and Sanergy are looking at ways to diversify inputs at our composting sites. So can we find ways to not only use the poop from our toilets, but also transform poop from latrines and septic tanks and other more traditional sanitation systems? And I just finally want to close by mentioning that Sanergy is also focusing on diversifying their outputs. So not only looking at compost, but also looking at animal feed using black soldier fly larvae. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Aart van der Beukel. I'm director of a company called Savisana and a very proud owner of the first poo-powered factory in Ghana. Thank you very much. Like 20 years ago, I started to become an entrepreneur, setting up various bagel espresso bars in Amsterdam, a different business. I had a industrial bakery selling bake-offs, and now I'm the manager of a company running a business on poo, which I think is has an interesting link. I'll tell you about it shortly. We see problems working in Ghana. There's a growing problems related to urbanization. In Ashaiman, where I operate, is a slum of 280,000 people with a yearly growth rate of 8%. And that's high, and it has a lot of impact on supply of power, proper sanitation services, which has an impact on health situation and also access to proper and healthy food. And another thing that we see is that there's a lot of initiatives to try to solve these problems, but they often fail because there's lack of ownership and lack of financial drivers to do that. And that's why we think we can do it different. That's what we're actually doing at the moment, by setting up, using the problem as a solution, and also setting up a sanitation value chain that has a reuse factory as a driving force, using toilet waste and solid organic waste as an input, as a resource, and then producing what we're doing in Ashaiman, power to the grid. We get a fee for doing that. We produce compost, we produce water that can be used for growing vegetable seedlings, growing tomatoes that we can sell to the local farmers. By doing that, we can serve about 50,000 people on a daily basis. And not only that, we can also make a profit. By selling these products, we make enough money to cover the operational expenses. In the coming years, we will be setting up 2 new projects in Ghana. And we also have a financial objective, which is to look at your cost. First, what we're doing now is to cover those. Very nice, very interesting, but initially, in the end, also to find a way to recover your capex, which I think is the biggest opportunity that we can see in the coming years to come. And to do that, we need strong commitment of the government. Not only that, also of the private sector. Well, I think present here as well. And for us in 2023, we aim to serve like 1 million people using poo as a resource for profit. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Art. Where's Andrew?
Ready?
Hello, my name's Andrew Foote, and I run a company called Sanitation, based in Naivasha, Kenya. Sanitation is simply trying to meet the demand for sanitation services for cities. And what we're realizing is the sewer's not going to reach everywhere. So we need other solutions. And what we're doing at Sanitation is we install container-based toilets, similar to my colleagues at Soil and Sanergy. And then we take the human waste and transform it into human feces, and transform it into a charcoal briquette. And we're actually selling those charcoal briquettes derived from human feces. It's important. I think it's important. The derived from, imagine cooking on a charcoal briquette derived from human feces. I think that is circular economy, right? Oh, and we're selling them to restaurants. We've sold 45 tons already. We're scaling in 2 areas. We're scaling in urbanizing communities, and we're scaling in refugee camps. And what's exciting is that human feces combined with agricultural residues can actually meet the demand for 50% of the total biomass fuel demand. And so next step for us is continuing to work with cities, actually making public-private partnerships a reality, to take what we call toilet resources and bringing them into the circular economy.
Good, thanks, Andrew. Let's throw the mic across. Oh, good catch. For the online audience, I should explain we have a throwable microphone in the room here. So over to Mark, who made a great catch there.
It is a throwable microphone, and I'm from South Africa, and we play really good rugby. So there you go. Yes, I'm Mark Lewis. I'm from Agriprotein. I'm the director of the biocycle, which is the sanitation arm of Agriprotein. I'm going to read from this little piece of paper because I'm likely to get the toilet resource thing wrong. Yeah. So just to give you everything I need. At Agriprotein, we are leading a new industry called nutrient recycling. We do this using black soldier fly larvae. We recover nutrients from household and industrial food waste and convert these into natural and accessible proteins and lipids for reintroduction into the animal feed chain to support the food security concerns of the contemporary age. Agriprotein is closing the agricultural loop, returning nutrients to the system, effectively diverting nutrients from landfill. At the same time, we are reducing the pressures on the sea resources by diverting demand from sea protein, of which more than 57% have already been exploited, towards a locally farmed and value-packed protein source, that being mag meal. Over the last 9 years, Agriprotein has grown from a research organization that processed 500 kilograms of food waste per week into a fully fledged waste solution that processes an average of 30 tons of waste per day and continues to develop its protein and lipid products for global market penetration. The biocycle is Agriprotein's sanitation arm, as I've said. Here we use the same nutrient recycling technology to recover nutrients from toilet resources. At municipal scale, converting piles of shit into wriggling piles of lava. These are further processed into a safe and natural protein, lipids, and biochar. Having started with 8% bioconversion on straight sludge, we are pleased to be getting 12% on our sludge and nutrient combinations. And with time, we will improve our process to be achieving closer to our Agriprotein conversion ratios of 20%. Our plant in Durban, KZN, at full capacity, will process 30 tons of combined mass of UD and nutrient waste additives, resulting in 3.6 tons of lava. This equals approximately 960 kilograms of protein cake, 320 liters of oil, and 1.26 tons of biochar every single day. The protein will be used as a pet feed ingredient, substituting fish meal and soy meal ingredients. The lipids as soap components, replacing palm oil, and the biochar as a fuel source. Our year ahead in the sanitation space will be highly productive. where we will be building our daily sludge processing capacity, increasing our biological and processing team, and building an operational body of data that will help to solidify our business case. We hope to engage with the Toilet Board Coalition in the areas of product development, product safety, and marketing. We are very excited at this opportunity we've been given, and we look forward to the challenge ahead.
Mark, thank you. Well done. Now, we heard there from 4, or with Sasha's help, 5 small companies. We're going to the other end of the scale now. So let's do what I think the Toilet Board uniquely does, which is bring together the perspectives of the small and the large companies. And we're going to go first to Kimberly-Clark, to Pete Del Camara, then to Suez with Alexia Michels, and then finally to Unilever with Michal Kulak. So Pete, over to you.
My name is Pete Del Camara, and I'm the Vice President of Corporate Research and Engineering at Kimberly-Clark. And I'm really honored to be here today as it relates to the kickoff of the circular economy. And you know, when I hear the word circular economy, the first thing I think of is nature. Because nature's been operating in a circular economy for 3.8 billion years, where one species' waste is another species' food. And that's the real opportunity for us, is to take the output from toilets, agriculture, and industry and use that as inputs to downstream industries. And, you know, one of the things, as I think about Kimberly-Clark, we actually started out as a circular economy business. The founders of Kimberly-Clark on the Fox River of Neenah, Wisconsin took recycled rags and linen and converted that into newsprint. And we've really been operating sustainable operations ever since, whether that's recycling water or energy or materials to make our products around the world. The iconic brands that you know is Huggies, Kleenex, and Kotex. But more importantly, working with the Toilet Board Coalition, what we're looking at is how do we use the toilet resources to really take and convert it into either biogas for our vehicles and operations, or even looking at protein oils and probiotics that we can incorporate into formulations, or even extracting water into our operations, or even using toilet resources as fertilizer to grow plants that we can convert into fiber that we can put into our products. And as we think about long term, all of our products catch and contain bodily fluids. And those bodily fluids contain information about human health. And so we're looking at ways to turn our dumb products, if you will, into smart products that can analyze the biological fluids that are in our products to understand more about human health and hopefully make people's lives better. And so I guess the challenge I have for all of you is to think about how you can participate in the circular economy, where your output becomes the input for another business, and also your input is the output from another business.
Thanks, Pete.
Okay, is it working? Yeah. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Alexia Michels. I'm working for Suez here in Mumbai. I'm based in Mumbai, and I'm in charge of finding new solutions to improve the water supply in slums areas. Going back to the Suez Group, we have started a few years ago our resource revolution. So what does that mean? It means that not only we are using natural resources to produce drinking water, for example, we are not only protecting and managing these resources in order to make our business sustainable. We are now entering in a new era, an era of creating new resources. Of course, as you all know, our world is facing new challenges. One of these challenges is the growth of the population, mainly in urban areas. So 70% in urban areas. So we have to find new resources because there's an increased demand of resources, not only water, but we are also talking about food, and we are also talking about materials to sustain our modern lives. So this is why we have started our resource revolution. The three main businesses of Suez is drinking water production and supply, wastewater collection and treatment, and solid waste management. So I won't talk about the solution we are developing to reuse the wastewater or to produce biogas out of the sludge treatment, but or to create new materials out of solid waste recycling. I just want to highlight here one of our innovative solutions, which is the use of the heat capacity or the cooling capacity of the wastewater circulating in one pipe as a fluid, you know. So just by putting a heat exchanger or a heat pump on these pipes, we can use these wastewater circulating in big pipes just as heat capacity. We use this heat capacity to heat up the buildings or to cool them down during the summer. So this is one of our innovative solutions we are developing within the group, and this is how we are doing our resource revolution. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michał Kulak, and I'm an environmental sustainability scientist in Unilever's Safety and Environmental Assurance Center. My team is developing scientific approaches to help guide decision-making within the business. Our main specialty of my team is to look at environmental impacts from a scientific perspective. For Unilever's partnership with Toilet Board Coalition, we saw an opportunity to drive some real transformational change for sustainability, according to our knowledge. And this year we have done a major scientific study to compare the environmental impacts of different options for providing sanitation in India. Today we've heard about the Clean India mission. I'm sure everyone in this room is familiar with the ambitious goal of Prime Minister Modi to provide everyone in the country with access to improved sanitation. This requires construction of nearly 170 million of new toilets, and these toilets can be provided in many different ways. Theoretically, everyone could be connected to centralized wastewater treatment facilities, the model that works in high-income countries, or it could be done more cost-effectively by building pit latrines for everyone, or it could be done in a more circular way by collecting and processing toilet resources. In our study, we look at the environmental impacts of all these different options from sustainability perspective, and the results were quite profound. So what we found, for example, is that if India follows a simple pit latrine route, this has the potential to increase greenhouse gas emissions of the whole country by 7%. And this is a significant amount, which corresponds roughly to all the emission budget of a small European country like the Netherlands. On the other hand, if more circular sanitation models are adopted, and if toilet resources are collected, processed, and reused, this has the potential to provide actual reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, provide net emission reductions, or being carbon positive in other ways. On the top of that, India is facing a fertilizer deficit, which means that it only domestically produces around 60 to 70% of nutrient needs. We found that if nutrients from toilet resources can be collected and processed into nutrients, this has the potential to satisfy up to 80% of the country's demand for nitrogen just by closing the gap for people who currently don't have access to sanitation, and 5% for phosphorus. So this shows the enormous value of circular sanitation models. Going forward, we would be interested to using our scientific capabilities to work further with Toilet Board, with Circular Economy for Sanitation project, to look at more sanitation systems or more environmental impacts, because we think this is an opportunity for some real transformative change. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. So we come now to our last speaker. Prabhat Pani is sitting at the back. So this brings us back to India. This is the investor's view. This is Tata Trust that we're hearing from here. Prabhat, over to you.
Welcome to Amchi, Mumbai, which is our Mumbai. I live here. My name is Prabhat Pani, and I work for the Tata Trust, which is India's oldest non-sectarian philanthropic organization which works in multiple thematic areas, including water and sanitation. A couple of quick comments about the sanitation practices in India In addition to flushing, those who use toilets in India also use it for washing, which means that the toilet resources actually have a far higher proportion of water elsewhere. Given the fact that between 15 to 25% of India is water stressed, meaning people don't have access to safe water, and 17% of the people actually have to travel more than 500 meters to collect water, even salvaging water out of the toilet resources could make a huge difference. The areas that we're working on in Tata Trust, some of them pertain to looking at decentralized solutions for urban India in treating the toilet resources. There was a mention about digitization. There's something interesting we are piloting as we speak. Along with Google, we have a program by which 30,000 rural women are being trained to use a tablet and a smartphone, and in turn, by March 17, to cover 100,000 villages in India. We think this pool could be a fantastic basis for being used for bringing about behavior change related to sanitation. If this works, we think we could even take this forward into other areas like health and nutrition. Going forward, while we start with urban India, we'd like to find solutions to manage toilet resources in rural India, where the need is far higher, and also to support SMEs in finding solutions that the Toilet Board Coalition is supporting. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Prabhat, well done. So we've had 10 speakers who, if you think about it, cover just about all the continents of the world, describing the opportunity for the circular economy for sanitation. Now, we are going to do a very short question and answer session. I should explain, particularly for the benefit of the online audience, we're going to make this a little shorter overall as a session than we planned, because we've got so much to do here in Mumbai in the conference. So we're going to cut this session slightly short, but we are going to take one question to get us started, just to prove that we can be interactive in what we're doing here. But the real thing I want to say to you now is this session is intended to start many conversations. So one lucky person will get to ask their question, but there are probably many, many questions in the room and online. And so if you don't get the chance to ask your question now, please don't be put off by that. If you're online, key your question in. We guarantee we will come back to you with an answer and connect you and get you involved. If you've got questions in the room, well, we're here for the next 3 days. So pick a moment, find the person you want to ask, and let's continue these conversations. And Alex is waving furiously at me from the back because she has an online question. Alex, go on.
Yes, one of the participants online is asking, what is the role of policy in enabling these kind of innovations?
Okay, that's a very big question. I'm wondering, Neil, whether you'd like to deal with that. Neil's our man from the municipalities, probably closest to the policy area. So what's the role of policy?
I guess that's the foundation, along with regulation, on which this whole thing exists. Because the policy hopefully engages with the customers and the people and brings about something that actually will support what you're trying to achieve. So I would say, if you don't have a policy, that's what underpinned our work. We got the policies approved by the politicians, and then we could do things like recycle human, toilet resource into a resource. If we didn't have that, we would have been dead. So I think it's step number one. Then comes finding the solutions to support the policy. Because people want certainty. They want to know where they're going. Will they get paid? How will they get their money? Will it get accepted? Will it get rejected? So if you don't put that foundation in place, that an entrepreneur can come and know, I'll make this thing, people will buy it. Nobody's going to come and charge me criminally or whatever, legally. There we go. That's it.
Well done, Neil. Thank you very much. Well, I said apologetically we're just going to take the one question, but I'm delighted that the question was online. That at least proves that this thing has worked today and we've made connections outside of the room. So with that, we're going to close the live stream session. Thank you very much to the online audience for joining us. We hope to meet all of you and get in touch very soon. And with that, I'm going to hand back to our Executive Director, Cheryl Hicks.
Thank you, Sandy. That was an excellent session. Already starting to show, I think, the